All right. Um, I feel like this is one of those subjects that I wanna. Um, my bad. I had the fan on, and I don't want that extra noise right now. So let's turn it off. Right. Uh, I feel like this is probably one of those subjects that I want to think more about, and there's a specific reason why. Um, but the idea of death and just when you stop to think about death itself, it can be quite freaky. It could be, um, I mean, it is pretty scary. I feel, I think that mm, the the majority of the people that say I'm not scared of death or I'm not scared to die, I think most of them haven't actually thought about it that much. Um, but then maybe if you think about it, maybe that, like, if you think about it more, maybe that takes you to a point where you're no longer scared of death to that extent, sort of like because you already understand a little bit more. I mean, understanding death is it's a question, a very complicated question in and of itself. Like, who can ever understand death, right? But to sort of start to wrap your head around this idea of death and the implications that it has in our current life, like getting to a deeper understanding of it should take you or should remove some of that fear. But I don't know. I feel like sometimes I feel like when I think about death itself a little too much, it freaks me out more than when, like, say if I was just ignorant about it and just preach what some people say, which is no, I'm not scared of death. Would like just to, I don't know, act tough maybe, or something like that. But let me see. But I feel that when I think about it, it makes me feel a little bit more fearful of death itself. But I'm trying to understand what exactly of death is it that scares me. You know, that's the part that uh I'm trying to understand a little bit more. Like, what about death is it that freaks me out? Um, there's a there's a thought that basically is the idea that when death is when death comes to your life, you no longer are. Like, once death presents itself in your life, you're no longer in existence. So the what this is trying to say is like essentially they're not, it's not like death comes into your life, death comes after life. It's not like it comes and interrupts necessarily your life. It's just something that comes after life or something like that. And so life there anymore to ponder upon its own existence. No feeling, no thought, no sensation, no nothing. It's just death. But sometimes these thoughts, this way of thinking about death just makes it seem like, okay, so we're in just, and not even we are in this abyss when we once we get to death. It's not like we're in this abyss of nothingness, but because you're not in that nothingness, you're not in that you're non-existent at that point. So, uh, so the fact that you're non-existent, you're not gonna feel anything. It's like, why worry about it? It's like sort of the thing that a lot of people want to think. Why worry about death if when death is there, um, you're not gonna feel anything. So why worry about it? And well, it's sort of the argument that is made on behalf of not being afraid of death. Oftentimes, it's just the thought of if if you're not even gonna feel anything, uh, think of it like this: you are. Do you remember what it felt like before you were alive? Like, do you remember that? It's an exercise to try to get you to sort of understand how it is likely gonna feel when you die. So they say, do you remember what it was like when you were not born? And I mean, we have no memory of it. We have no way to even try to understand what it was like before we were alive, or where we were before we existed in this world that we are now in, or whatever. There's no way to know that. So the idea is, yeah, that's how it's gonna be when you die. Okay, and is how I don't. I guess the question is, how is that supposed to bring to me less fear? Um, I guess I'm trying to understand that part. And I'm not saying that you should be scared of death. No, I'm actually trying to work towards understanding this stuff so that I am less afraid of death itself. I'm afraid, like, I'm less afraid of, um, I mean, I'm always gonna have fear of my loved ones passing or dying. I have kids, so it's always in my mind. I don't want to see some bad happen to them. So I'm working towards it. But what is the this thought, why is it that this it's just the argument that's used oftentimes. If you're not going to feel anything when you die, why worry? I just don't see how that's not like how that by itself is supposed to just put me at ease. I don't see it. So if anyone has a particular thought there on that, leave it in the comments there. Um, why do you think that thinking that when you pass, when you die, you're not gonna feel, you're not gonna think, there's gonna be nothing about you that has anything to say? Why should that remove the fear? Like, what exactly about that? What exact element of that statement or that way of understanding or thinking about death? What about that is supposed to ease off the fear of dying? Um, the fear of dying, I feel like for me mostly is like the I mean the I guess it's like just feeling that I haven't done enough, maybe. Because there's like, I do have this understanding of this world to a certain extent that makes me think, hey, I want to enjoy this life as well. Like, I want to enjoy this life. I want to enjoy the time with my peer, with my family, with people I care for, things to do. And this is gonna sound silly, but things that obviously once gone, there's just no way of coming back to. You're just done. Like, this is it. This is the one time opportunity. One time. That's all. One time. That's why this is called one time media. Well, yeah, but uh, it's just this one time, and it's gone. That's it. No coming back. And I guess for me, that's sort of one of the fears, that this is like I'm gonna be gone, and I didn't get to do anything that I want to do, and not, oh, when I die. Oh, okay, okay. Here's an interesting thought, because what I'm saying is not in a sense of like, oh my God, when I die, I'm not gonna be able to do that stuff anymore that I so much wanted to do. It's not the way I think about it. Well, it's not the way I'm thinking about it. I'm not thinking about like, after I die, how am I gonna think about the things that I didn't get to do? No, no, no. The way I think of it is like this: death causes fear on me because of my current desire to do things right now. That I want to do these things right now. I don't want to live my life to a certain extent, to a certain point. I don't want to live my life to a certain point and then look back at my life, like look back at it, like actually look back at it and realize, really, that's what I did with my life? That's not what I want. It's not what I want. And I think that's the fear of the current desires, not the idea of how I'm gonna feel once I die. I understand that once I pass, once I die, I'm not gonna think of any of it. So then it won't bother me. Then at that time, I'm not gonna be thinking about. I'm not gonna feel regret. I'm not gonna feel remorse. I'm not gonna feel satisfaction. I'm not gonna feel anything because there's gonna be nothing of me to feel those things. So I understand that part. It's the feeling of the now, the desires of the now, of this, the desires of your current life, not about what life would have been had you not died. Like it's not like that. So I think that's probably mainly the part that causes this fear. It's this the present desire to do things, the current desire, the desire that is existing within each individual now, and the fear of not getting to live um, to enough to be able to enjoy certain things of this life, to be able to do certain things. And you know what? Maybe it's because, like I said, I don't think that you should be scared of death, but I also don't think, but I also understand. I understand why we're afraid of it, or we're afraid to die, or that why we don't want to necessarily die. Like we might be just leaving, or we might feel like we're leaving so much without doing, and that's always spoken from a thought process that's going on in the present moment for each individual. Maybe that's what we fear. It's not like, one thing that people fear when it comes to death also is just this idea that death itself is going to be like, when you die, it's going to be a painful death. It's going to be uh, excruciating, or um, yeah, it's not going to be pleasant. Think about drowning. Think about getting burned. Think about, I don't know, so many cases, right, of murderers and stuff like that. So you don't want to get caught, tortured, or that someone does something very, very, mm, very not cool to you, like, and you die because of that, right? Um, I understand that that can be also something that we fear, that we think that makes us fear death, is this idea that death is just is a painful thing. But death is not always a painful thing. Sometimes for some people, death is actually a peaceful situation. It can be, at least for some. Uh, so it's not just that. For me, I feel, I mean, I'm making this video because I feel like a lot of people don't want to say that they're scared of death. Like they'd rather say, "No, I'm not afraid." Like, no, we want to act tough, right, and say that we're not afraid of death. I'm not scared to die. Let's freaking roll, man. Ride or die kind of shit, right? Like, no. Um, I'm afraid. I got kids. Um, I value this life. I think about this life deeply. I would not mind living up to like 200 years, 300 years if I can. Um, when I think about this life altogether and like just how packed, like, um, all the experiences, let's put it that way, like all the experiences that are um, existing within this one experience called life, right? All those things, all these things within this experience of life amaze me. And I find them extremely beautiful, um, in a way that it makes it makes me feel sad that someday it's not gonna be there, to be honest. Like it makes me sad that someday I'm not gonna get to experience this anymore because I'm not gonna exist. That thought itself, it doesn't bring anxiety. It just makes me think a lot about life and death, and it makes me not want to die. It makes me not want to die. Life, death. Like I was gonna say, death is such a normal, such a natural part of life. But it's almost like an oxymoron to say that death is a natural part of life, because wait, no, it's an oxymoron. No, that's not the right term. But what I'm saying is, it's an odd thing to say that death is a natural part of life when death and life are uh, two two different things in and of themselves. Um, there's death and there's life. Once you have a life, and when death comes to whatever it is that was alive, then whatever that thing that was alive no longer is. So two separate things. But you either have one which has